Hey everyone, welcome to this Force Friday. I hope that you've had as an amazing week as I have. Just spectacular weather, right? We're starting to get flowers in bloom and sun's out again. I'm in Southern Washington, so it's really nice to get past all the rain and get some warm weather. Went for a walk again today in the woods near my house, um, so I'm ready, right? I'm super energized and ready today to talk to you guys about gesture drawing and trying to get more form in our work, right? So, perspective and form is such a complicated space. The idea of understanding perspective and understanding volume and all the different ways that you can express construction. So we're going to try to touch on those today and show you how to very quickly try to get some of that into your figure drawing. It's not like we have to build an entire room, in perspective in order to get all this construction on the body. It is good to be aware of. When I was teaching in colleges, when we got to perspective, I would actually have students draw their horizon line on the piece of paper and recognize the fact that, for instance, they were looking at the model typically around like mid-thigh height or knee height, because the model will be on a model stand, and having that awareness, it's like I'm looking up, I'm looking down at the model, and to recognize that space, because that really does change how you view the model. Getting a sense of that upwardness or the downwardness, and that changes the closer you get to the model as well, right? So I used to have students, we would like make a tighter circle around the model also to get more of an exaggerated view of how you're looking up or down. So something to keep in mind. Today, we're going to really try to just focus on the models themselves. How do you get all that construction in there? So we've got, again, ellipses, turning edges, surface lines, these different ways of creating construction, anatomy, right? I'm going to try to not talk too much about anatomy today because we usually do that later. But if you do know anatomy, it's an amazing way of getting construction into the body, right? Because as you learn the overlaps of anatomy and where their insertion and origin points are on the figure, that actually creates a lot of really fast overlap in the figure drawing, and therefore you can draw it, very quickly as a gesture, right? So that's all the stuff we're going to share with you guys today, right? So with that, let's say hello to the guys, right? How are you guys doing? How are you doing, Swenley?
Good, ready to build some figures.
Yeah, just laughing because I see Mattesi's really, like I said, been on his diet plan still.
It's getting really skinny there. You can see his skull.
Exactly. How you doing, Mattesi?
Yeah, always head out for the drawing.
You should be holding the skull there now and talking with it as your with your audio. Yeah.
Yep, I'm doing good. I think today's topic is like super important in terms of like bringing in more believability and three-dimensionality, because we're always working on these like 2D surfaces.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's great to just know how to put that three-dimensionality on the piece of paper. So yeah, pretty excited.
Yeah, it's funny you say that. I've kind of the way you described it. One thing that's come up in mentorship this week is, we live in a 3D world, of course, right? And so let me back up. I've been having a lot of conversations about some notes that I have that Glenn Keane, the Disney animator, had put together when he was an animator at Disney Animation. And in one of them, he has this question that I think is really profound, which is, he says, what is the shape of the form that you are drawing, right? Is the question. What is the shape of the form you are drawing? And that question insinuates that form comes before shape, right?
Yeah.
And that leads to this idea of what you just said, which is that we're drawing three-dimensional forms, right? Like that's what we're trying to convey in our drawings. But no matter what, you're drawing on a two-dimensional plane. We're not in a sculpture class here. We're in a drawing class here. So no matter how you look at it, you're still drawing shapes. Glenn is basically just saying, be aware that it is a form. You want to know what the shape of that form is. And I think that the best of draftsmen out there really recognize, I think, the fact that you're working 2D and 3D. You're taking the 3D world, but you have total control over that 3D world on this two-dimensional plane and seeing those shapes, right? And you're trying to constantly put those two things together. So I'm sure that'll come up, while we're drawing today as well. All right, so Swenley, I think you're heading us up. Let me get you all the power you deserve. Let's see here, make co-host and okay. And while I'm at it, get Mattesi on that power. Yeah, so you can take over whenever you're ready. All right, as he's frozen in time, I'm going to take a look at what you guys are writing in the meantime. See, Mattesi is the grin. Yeah, exactly. And didn't you say, was it Mrit meant death or something, like the first part of your name?
Sorry,
is that right? Yeah, I'm asking you. Wasn't like the first half of Mattesi Mrit meant death or something like that?
Yes, it is. Yeah.
Yeah. So now you got your skull there. It's all coming together.
Right.
Yeah, that's some connection problems there, apparently.
Yeah. So you're all good?
Yeah, it seems like it. Let's try it again.
Okay. There you go.
Yes. Okay. So yeah, guys, let's go for some gesture drawing and talk about form while doing that. Let's hide this. Let's go to this layer. And of course, we're doing gesture drawing, so I'm going to be using the gesture drawing brush from our Force brush pack. So let me just get started here, and I'll talk my way through the structure stuff as I'm going. So let's start with a torso. We have this nice, like suspended torso almost going on here. And gesture drawing, you want to start loose and forcefully. Now focus on the main ideas. You can see that its pelvis is getting a bit wider here. Now in doing gesture drawing, the first way I deal with structure is mostly through wrapping, meaning drawing these ellipses on the figure. And normally I like to draw them in certain key areas, like at the top of the torso, for example. And this front edge right here is the pit of the neck. So I look at the reference and I look at how far is the pit of the neck from this back edge, because that's going to give me the width of the ellipse that I'm dealing with. Now, so here I'm saying there's the top plane of his torso. And in doing that, now I establish the center line right here. So I can continue with that and pull that through all the way to the bottom of the torso. And then he's wearing shorts, so that helps, which means that helps me define the top of his pelvis form. So that would be right here. And as you know, we have our own Force brand of underpants, which I'm going to put on the torso right now. And that gives us...
Gotta get that into the store.
Yeah. And the great thing here is that it gives us the sockets for the thighs, so I know that this leg, for example, is going to like pop out of that socket. So let's get this leg out here. Now, and even here, I'm thinking of the fronts of the knee right there as a cylinder, so it's the cylinder form of the thigh, and this is going into the page, and then this is going up. Let's try to match this angle. And for the limbs, I like to wrap, use the wrapping lines around the joints. The knee is a good place. The ankle joints, I also like to draw like this this socket where the arc of the foot fits in, you know, so you have the form of the heel back here, and the arc of the foot is like popping out of that socket into the toes. So we have that, and the other thigh is going to fit in this socket. Now, so this is coming out. Again, I'm looking at the front of that knee as a cylinder, just paying attention to the placement here. This would be around here. So what I'm drawing now is the whole form of the thigh. You know, on the outside edge of that form is a forceful shape, meaning that I have a curve and I have an S-curve on the other side, which makes the shape essentially asymmetrical, you know, so we get this nice and forceful shape there. Okay, let's go back here. So we have the front edge of the knee, and I'm looking at the ellipse. I think the knee is facing up a bit more. It's more like that. And then this leg is going down. Now again, just getting the gesture, so keep things loose and forceful at this stage. Now just go for the main ideas of the action. Don't stress out with or about accuracy. You know, that comes with time. Allow yourself to discover and like figure things out. So let's move this guy over here. Of course, there's no support for the torso right now, so this would be falling. So we need to put this arm in place. And we can see the directional force of the deltoids. Now, the shoulders are very flexible, meaning that, you know, the shoulders can even like stretch out a little bit. So it's very important to pay careful attention to like how much this is sticking out. So I'm drawing a 4 shape here. It's almost like when you draw a flour sack. Now you have these little shapes at the end. So I'm thinking about the shoulder in that way, meaning that I have this mass, and this is like stretching out this way, and then the arm is connected to that. You know, you have the upper arm connected to that shape. The elbow is all the way back here, and there's a lot of stress on that arm. Just watching out to not make that arm too long. I think this needs to be slightly shorter. And here again, I think I use wrapping to make sure I understand which way the arm is going in 3D space. You know, so I'm basically relating that arm to a cylinder. You know, so again, I wrap around the joints primarily. Here again, around the wrist joints. And we continue into the hands. Lots of weights on that hand right there. Speaking about anatomy here, I would use, I can see the shape of the deltoid muscle, so I would use that there. You know, I also would bring in the clavicle to give me some quick structure. I can see the pectoralis pulling from the arm, you know, wrapping around, and then that connects us to the other arm. So let's get this guy in. Again, same flour sack kind of shape with this deltoid. So I find the directional force, add a straight on the other side. It gives me a 4 shape. And from here, I can connect the upper arm. Again, pay attention to where this is going. And so we have this arm coming out here. And he's grabbing his foot. Okay, add a bit more of the hanging of the ribs there. Let's get the head into place. It seems like he's bending his neck this way. Let's see if this works. So I started with that force curve, then I starts like creating this mass or this shape of the head. And then I fill that shape with form through wrapping. So we're looking down at this head, meaning I can see the top plane. So I need to pay attention to the width of the ellipse. Now, the wider the ellipse is, the more the form or that particular plane is facing us. Now, could do it with a box form, of course, with a turning edge. And gesture drawing, I just find that wrapping is faster, and then the turning edges makes things more specific because you're adding clear planes. So I usually start with wrapping, and then as the drawing progresses, I make things more specific by adding the turning edges. Also, in terms of the pose, this is a pretty good setup. The main ideas are here. Like he's leaning. You can see the weights on his hands. I think the only thing that we need to add is a sense of a ground plane. And I'm looking at the shadows on the floor to help me see that. Now to give me these perspective angles. It has some wrapping on this arm, so this arm is coming out. So that's basically it. In terms of gesture drawing, we have the gesture down. So, from here we could continue working on the pose and refine it further. Okay, let me do another one for you guys. Let's see. Let's go with a female this time. Let's go to a new layer. And let's just go for it. So let's start with the torso. We have a great amount of stretch on this side. On this side is compressing. And I can use the clothing here to help me see the top of the pelvis. So the clothing gives you a natural wrapping line. You can see how this is wrapping around that form. It even gives us a clear idea of this V shape of the pelvis. And again, we can think of the classic superhero underpants to give us the socket for the thighs. Let's see, it seems like this is going the other way. Let's see, or do we still look at the top of her torso because the bit of the neck is here? Yeah, so I think the form is going this way. Let's go for it. Now, as we develop the drawing, we'll notice whether that is correct or not, and we can fix it if necessary. So all of this is stretching. And I can see how that's how this thigh fits now into that socket. Let's move this around a little bit so the legs can fit. Also wrap around the knee joints, ankle joints. Now this leg is coming out this way. And here, if you look closer, you will see clearly how the thigh fits into the pelvis. Now she's like thrusting this leg out. So a lot of stretch in that leg. So here again, you have the torso and the legs. Let's get a sense of the 3D space. Okay, let's make this a bit smaller. This should do the trick. So here we want to understand which way the leg is going. So I'm visualizing the leg as cylinders, again, thinking about those ellipses. The rib cage is really getting wider as it's being pushed out. So I'm adding a bit more of that here. And same as before, think of this as a flour sack. Now, so we have this shape here, and we have this shape here, and the arms are fitting into that. And so we have the arms out there. And just to make this a bit more dramatic, I want to place that staff at a diagonal angle. Now it's very straight in the reference. I think this is a bit more interesting. And then we have a nice rhythm between the torso and the neck and head. So I'm looking at this as one mass, one unit. And then I can separate it. Again, add wrapping as a very quick way to help you understand which way the forms are going in 3D space. Let's add some quick forms to this foot. A bit of a drop shadow there, so it's clear that foot is lifted off the floor. And that is basically it. So use those wrapping lines, which of course means that you need to understand the ellipse rules and how to construct cylinders, which we teach in detail during mentorship. And then you can bring those ideas to your gesture drawings. Okay, hopefully this was helpful, guys. I'm going to give it over to I think Mritunjay, so he has enough time to draw.
All right, awesome. Thank you, Swenley.
Yeah, you're welcome.
As Swenley said, obviously if you have a clothed model or a partially clothed model, then, immediately you're going to be able to get some form out of them. It's like really, really fast. It's all the other stuff that the more invisible stuff you got to watch out for.
Yeah.
You ready, Mritunjay?
Yes, just
Okay.
a minute.
It's like your cat is sleeping. There you go.
Can you see the reference?
Yes.
Okay. So can you pin my video, please?
Yes. I'm over there right now. And pin.
Oh. Is it lost you?
Yeah, I have your cat. Now we're in a Star Wars green screen room.
Let's try one more. Otherwise, I think you should go first, and then.
Yeah, that's fine. There you are.
Okay. Yeah, I can see myself. Hopefully it goes well. All right. So can you hear me as well? Very clearly?
Yeah, you just always sound a little far away, so just try to talk as loud as you can, I guess.
All right, guys. Finally, after all the struggle, there we go. So you see the reference there. Okay. Now, you can see I try to choose references which are obviously showing more form. Okay, so here you can see in the reference, like how his one leg is like going into the space and like one leg is coming towards us. And then into the arms, we also do see this this coming out in the front and like going into the back. Okay. And the overall torso, I mean, just look at the overall figure, like the overall torso is coming towards us. Okay. There's like a lot of form inside of this figure, you know, that you know, just waiting for there to be discovered. So yeah, you know, let's just try to draw that like using those initial ideas basically. Okay. So obviously I'm gonna start off with the torso. You know, you'll see me like using like a lot of cross contour lines. And you can also see that, and you'll also see that, you know, I'm just like using those like clothing tricks that's Wendy mentioned, you know, which is great as well. Okay. So let's go for it. That's a little bit cleaner. Okay, there we go. So let's go for the torso. Now here's a S torso. No, I'm gonna go for here and like pushing right there. Okay. Also try to draw this like whole figure in like one you know, one page. I think I already kind of started a little bit bigger, but we'll see how it goes. So you see, as I did that already, yes, the form is like that, but as soon as I put this, you see this natural like cross contour line again, like clothing is a great way to do it. Uh, so you know, you see how this like goes, okay, kind of like that. Yeah, kind of like that. And then you see how this leg is like going into space. So maybe I just make an angle like that, okay? And maybe I bring this leg forward like that. Okay. Now see, I didn't have any form in here, but it still kind of feels like it. It still kind of feels like a little, you know, that this leg is coming out, this leg is going back. But as soon as I just start to do this like cross contour lines, you'll see like how that actually goes. Okay. So you see, if I do this, you know, and if I do this, you see already, you know, that illusion is starting to take place again. Okay. Illusion is starting to take place again. Now I usually do these kind of ellipses. Okay. And if this side is like above the surface, okay, let's say if I have a cylinder like this, okay, this is like coming towards us. And if I do an ellipse like this, you see how the darker line represents the top, okay, and the lighter lines like goes back. So I make a full ellipse, but I usually try to make it darker and lighter. And I usually darken the surface, which is like towards me. Okay, so I use these kind of like we use these kind of ellipses. That's definitely one thing that we use in the course, you know, a lot on the website as well. Okay, so we do that, and you know now it's kind of the same conversation that we were bringing in the beginning of the stream, you know, which is like, you know, about like the Glen Key notes and like how he says, well, you know, you should be knowing the form of the shape, the shape of the form that you're drawing. So basically now what's happening, like we can draw shapes in here. Okay, we can draw shapes in here now, and they will be looking like, oh yeah, this form is like coming towards us. So basically, I did the shape, but I know the form, you know, that's behind it basically. Okay. So there we go. Now I can put in like a fourth shape in there. So see, all of a sudden that things comes forward to us. Okay. And obviously, size is one of the things again, you know, because you look at this die versus that other die, which is going behind, like which is going back at the surface, you know, into the depth. So, you know, that's definitely a smaller shape. And already, you know, again, we are starting to bring in that illusion. Okay. So all of these are just like, this is the combination, this illusion, this three dimensionality into the paper. This is all the combination of all of these things. Okay. Now I'm just gonna do the template, you know, just an outside inside outside there. Okay. You see how this is going back, this coming forward. If you see in the underwear, it's kind of like that, the underpants, okay, it's kind of like that. There's a crotch right there. And now this is like all like coming forward. Okay. So that's definitely like bringing in the structure. Now we also got the arm for sure. Okay. The overall torso structure is like this, as you can see. I'm just gonna like tone that in. Right? Just toning it in, just making the shape more soft. Okay. Now see the arm, right? That's coming towards us. Okay. So definitely we need to go for the shoulder like this, the deltoid here. And then this arm comes forward like that. And then we got again, we can use like the cross complement. Now here I can start to talk about anatomy just a little bit, just a little. It's not like too much, but just a little bit of anatomy. Like okay, that's deltoid, and that's like overlapping the arm, and the arm comes underneath. It's almost like this. Okay? So here's, let's say, the deltoid, and the arm comes underneath off of that. Okay, and you can see a little bit of deltoid in there too, right? So see how this like overlaps again. That's the structure that we're bringing in. So it's the same thing happening over here again, right? This is like the whole deltoid thing, and this arm is like coming towards us from underneath, right? Just like that. Okay, now we got the forearm. You can now here's another like quick tip here. You can use in the you can use in the I was about to say. Like I'm basically doing the template. I'm using the darker lines to represent that. Okay, like that's coming towards us. So I'm you also like using line weight to just bring the form like towards us. Okay, right here, and then there's a hand. So I'm just like grouping. I'm just basically making a gesture, right here. Now I can go in a little bit detail. Now this is gesture drawing. Doesn't need to be like as you don't need to like put in so much like details in there. But I would definitely say like some details are important, necessary for this one. Let's say for this one, this rib cage like poking out a little bit. Okay, so I would do that. The squash here is a little bit. That's I think it's very important. So I'm just gonna put that in there too. There we go. So there we go. We just I just like made it a little bit more accurate again in terms. All right, and there's a little feed in there. Whenever you have like two things to compare with, and I didn't get the space here. As you can see, I just run out of paper. But if I were to like make this foot, this would be like actually obviously a little bit bigger than that one, right? Or as you can see also in the figure there, that foot is like bigger. So if we have like something similar or like the same thing and pair to compare with, right? We can, and one is bigger and one is smaller, then instantly you will know that one is far away and then one is closer. Okay. So I can just basically say here's an view. I can just say here's a circle, here's another circle. Now instantly what you would see, oh that's far away, that's closer, right? Because you have the same thing, but just different in size. Okay. So maybe imagine like I don't know, there's a figure, and maybe this is a hand and this is a hand, right? So I basically just make like two hands, these two circles. So until I don't know, maybe you're living on another planet, or maybe you're from another planet where you have like one big hand and one small hand. Uh, until you're not living in there, then that's definitely for sure. The one hand is closer to us, one hand is away from us. Okay, this page is pissing me off. All right. Let's go with another one. Okay. Hopefully those are the things that you get out. Okay, let's go with the another one. This is a new reference, as you can see. So again, this is an S torso. So I would start off from there, and then coming. Okay, so I just quickly did like two direction forces. One is this one is that one, and establish the rhythm between the two. Okay. Already, so you can start with the template. Okay, as every time. Go for the big picture, and then you can just use some clothing. And even if let's say a figure doesn't have clothes, you're making a new model, which is fine. It doesn't always have to be like and there's like underpants or something like that. But there are like natural like skin creases or something like like things similar, which you can use to like describe the form. Okay. But anyway, we have the underpainting in here, so we can use that. All right, so just like I said, that's my cross contour line. Like these two are my cross contour lines. The hand is having the cross contour line. It just doesn't have like that much of depth, I would say. But the upper hand does show that, just like this, just like that. Now that's kind of flat. According to the camera, that's kind of parallel. I mean, it doesn't show a lot of depth. It's not coming like towards the camera or going away from the camera. But the forearm did. Okay, the forearm is doing that. So yeah, let's make the forearm go that way. I tore the paper there, sorry for that. All right, so it's going there. So as you can see, if I just want to like make some ellipses, this is how I would do it, like that way. All right. Now this, that hand in there, that is coming towards us a little bit, so just gonna give it a quick shape there. Okay. Look at the legs again. The leg, one leg is going back, right? One other one is like coming forward. So I will do this. Again, I'm just like throwing out the angles here very quickly. This foot should be like that. Anyway, just throwing this out like really quickly. So I'm throwing lines, and then I'm using the clothing again just to, you know, do the cross compromise. So there we go. This one is like that. Again, I'm using the ellipse technique. Okay, so there we go. And this one is more like this. And you see, like the other side, I'm always using this this light line. Okay, so again, the same thing, ellipse, and darker the part where, which is like closer to us. Okay, which is towards us. Now, you can carry on with the templates just like I'm doing right now. So, bring an outside, inside, and outside, right there. And this one, we can go and out, front to front on this one. You're there. And then again, using the shape. Using the shape and some anatomy, and just able to capture that. Any questions in the chat, guys?
No, it's all good.
Great. All right, how much time do we have? I think I'm done with. All right, and the head that goes at the back. Okay. Yeah. So am I done, or?
You can go a minute or two more if you want.
Okay, sure. All right, let's do another one, and this one, let's do it a little quicker. So what do we have? Let's say, okay, let's go for that one. So you see this one, this figure. I love this pose, by the way, myself. It's very kind of like having a lot of depth, and it does present like a lot of form and fluidity. Okay? So go for this very quickly. This is the reverse S, by the way. I'm just to let you guys know about it. All right, I'm gonna come up from the back, right from the rear end into the chest. Quickly do the shape there. Oh, I kind of think I made it like very big. Right, I'll do it again. Because I need to like fit this leg in here. Do this, do that again. So I'm always like using angles, like, or pretty simple templates, and then I just use a cross contour line. That's my way to go. Here again, you can see like how this clothing is wrapping. That's a very clear cross contour. You don't even need to think about it. Just do it. Very simple cross contour line. And then this leg goes back. It's like this, and then this one comes forward again, like that. So I'm using some templates and some anatomy to like describe the form. Now here you see like clothing 100% of the time doesn't all like works. Okay, like 100% of the time. Okay, so at this place, yeah, it's kind of confusing, right? I mean, it looks good in photograph. Yeah, I can zoom in a little bit more. Here you can see, yeah, that's kind of like working, and this part is actually not working. So don't worry about it like too much. I would just say keep it simple. So in this case, I will just make it, okay. At least for the elliptical part, for the cross contour line, I will just make it simple. Okay. And then this lower leg, this is actually going back. So it's now more like this. This other leg is like going back. Okay, just like this. All right, and then because it's coming forward, I'm using those ellipses there. Going like that. We can use those ellipses again, for sure. Obviously, this is kind of important to like give it a base. Okay, I'm just like doing it right now, just for the sake of time, right? And then obviously we have the head. So giving it a feet. Yeah, no, I kind of again run out of paper, so I'm not able to like present that whole head in there. Sorry, and the whole leg in there. But yeah, and that's it, I think. So hopefully you guys enjoyed those traditional demos. And yeah, I think yeah, we're gonna move on to Mike.
All right, thank you, Mrityunjay.
Yeah, very welcome.
Right, let's see here. All right, guys. So I'm going to try something a little different today. I'm going to try to draw on my Cintiq, but with you being able to see my hand, right? So this way we get, something in between drawing on paper and yet drawing on the screen at the same time. So kind of curious to see how this works out, and you guys tell me what you think. Everyone can see everything okay? Yeah. All right, so here's my Cintiq. You can see my hand on here. I have this photograph I thought we would start with today. Just make sure that that's coming on the screen nice and clearly there. Yep. All right, and I'm going to be using the force brushes today. So you can see I'm on the soft touch brush here, right? And I'm just going to kind of go at it, right? So gesture, right? I want to just get this like sweeping motion. Now, those of you that may not know this, because you're going to see like this circle show up and disappear. That's me just making the brush bigger or smaller from left to right. So the way you do that is on a Mac, it's Control and Option keys. If you hold those two down, left to right is scale, up and down is opacity. You can see that number is going up and down right there, right? So I'm going to keep it at 100%, and you'll see me play with this a lot. And I guess the question is like, why? What am I doing? Well, when I'm just trying to feel stuff out, I'll make the brush bigger here, and I'm going to hit caps lock to get rid of that brush, right? You see how that thing's there, right? I like it better when I only have like a little cursor. I hate that giant like brush icon floating around. So when I'm trying to feel stuff out and I'm starting off, I'll go a little bigger, right? You can see it's a little fuzzier. And then pretty quickly, I'll get smaller and smaller, just depending on how close I am, I think, to the right idea. Now, on paper, I don't do that, right? I don't have to worry about that. On the paper, I'll start usually with the side of the graphite. So if I'm drawing with like Lyra graphite and I have only like a 2-inch chunk of it in my hands, I'll lay that flat down on the paper and start like this to kind of ghost my way in very quickly. And then I kind of lift it up onto its point. Here, obviously I can't do that with the Cintiq pen. So, I'm controlling that by doing this. It's like I'm trying to mimic that experience, right? Let's bring this over a little bit. All right, so, I'm feeling the force of his back. You can see in a way, this is gonna take longer than a gesture. Maybe what I'll do is I'll do it afterwards again, but I want you to see what I'm thinking, right? So here is the shape, right? Like Mrityunjay and Swanley did, right? I'm going after that shape. It has no form in it yet, right? It's just the shape, and it's kind of a cool shape, really, right? Because this goes like this, and then once I get past Trinda's pelvis, you can see the shape of the leg comes up very tightly like this, and it goes like this, right? A lot of great movement going on here. If I wanted to, darken this up, and start bringing it forward, You know, you could see the way I would flow my way through this, right? Now, the fastest way I would get form into this is I would go down the spine, right? This would be my first step in. You see that? Man, as soon as I do that, that line separating the back gives me this section and that section, 1 and 2. And that really helps me like divide up the space. Now, and the other thing that I could do here that I would do very quickly is I could just wrap my way through this like that, right? And that immediately tells me, okay, I'm looking down, right? I'm looking down into Trinda's body. It's almost like, you know, imagine like up here, I could look like down into his figure, right? Like so. So that gives me that form. Now, in a quick gesture, I might use that, I might not, because ironically, this pose anatomically does give me a lot of this info, but you need to know this information, right? That's why, you know, that's why we learn how to draw. Like one thing I kind of noticed today is in watching Swenli and Mrityunjay, just sitting and watching them draw, it looks easy, right? It looks like, God, I should just be able to pick up a pencil and just do exactly what they're doing. I see how they're moving, I should just be able to do it. And yet, ironically, it's not, right? I always bring up guitar because I've always wanted to play guitar, but not enough to do the work to really play it. It looks easy. You should be able to pick up the instrument, you know, move your fingers around and make the sounds that you want to make, right? And it just doesn't work like that, you know. And the same thing happens with drawing. All this stuff looks like it's nothing, but you know, we've all three of us, you know, years and years of experience behind us to make it look like it's this simple, right? That we can just move around. Like even just the fact of moving around and trying to land accurately in your motions like that in itself is, you know, it's time, right? It's experience to do that, right? And now, you know, on top of that, we're talking about force, right? It's like, well, you know, can I get force in my drawing as well and try to get all this stuff moving? You can, you know, just be patient. It'll take, like I said, it'll take some time to get there, right? So anyway, you can see all these wrinkles in the skin right here, right? They give me the form, right? So there's sort of an anatomical piece without really even knowing anatomy, but I could see the wrinkles. I love down here his back is very tight, right? So I'm making this line smaller because I want to put in these like surface lines in there, you see, and really talk about all that like pulling that's going on in there. I love this crease in his back right here. It kind of dips in and then like at the turning edge dips out. It's very structural, right? It's very, very structural like this. Right, it's just really cool. And then all these, like, you could see that Trinda's got like no body fat because look how thin the wrinkles are of his skin, right? Like super, super small. So anyway, you know, I reserved the smaller brush for these nuances, right? And I'm saving the bigger brush for feeling my way into this, right? And allowing myself the freedom. Freedom is very important to me in every way, shape, and form. Besides drawing, and yeah, you know, I want to make sure that I can just stay loose and flow my way around all of this, right? And I like the process of just moving around like this. Quite honestly, like I could do it more directly. I'll do that in a few minutes for you, but I really like just flowing around like this, right? And just feeling how all this stuff is moving and connected. It's the experience. It's just the experience of drawing with force. This sense of fluidity I'm talking about, I really enjoy that. I like the drama of it. It's why I teach this, right? It's like I like the drama of it. I like the connectivity of it, right? I like that I can come up the back and here I'm going to go into the edge of the chest. I keep finding more connections. I like trying to connect to the back here to the shoulder like this, right? And feeling that power, right? So I could start like darkening in that line, right? And pulling that over. Look at his tricep there. It's insane, right? It's like a giant tumor on the back of his arm. It's humongous. It doesn't even like make logical sense, right? It's like, whoa, look at that. It's like right there. So I can add that nuance of detail in there, right? Here's his elbow. And I can get all that anatomy, you know, going on. Now I want to see like where his hand is compared to his butt. Notice this is a very subtle thing, but I put this angle in here, his rear end, right? That's very important, that subtleness of how it's sitting on the ground. The same with his foot. Like you want to make sure all those touchstones, right? All those places where, you know, the body touches the ground, that you're really paying attention to perspective. His hands on a very subtle perspective too, very flat, right? So what does that tell us? It tells us the camera is pretty low because otherwise the angles would be very strong, but they're not, right? So, all right, so I'm getting through here. this is not like, this is a very slow gesture drawing. I think, in a way, I guess you could consider all force drawings gesture drawings, because the gestures are usually about the movement. So if I did a 20-minute drawing, or we did a 2-minute drawing, it's still very gestural, right? That's a big, I guess, differentiator of what we're trying to teach, maybe to some other drawing approaches, right? It's a little straighter down. So I'm just going to move. I'm pushing his foot to the right because I'm looking at that angle right there on the leg, right?
There are some
Just in the
questions
middle.
in the chat. Redacted is asking, Mike, I noticed you're stabilizing your hand with your pinky.
Yeah, I
Is
do that a
that,
lot.
is that something they use at Disney?
No. No, that is a Mike Mattesi born tactic. Mickey did not teach me to stabilize with the pinky. Yeah, Mickey doesn't really have a pinky, if we want to consider it that way, because he's only got 4 fingers, so I don't know which one he's missing, and I would probably get rid of the pinky if any of them. So, all right, yeah, so that's homegrown right here in the stables. All right, of force. Good question though, and good, good analysis. You're right. Sometimes I put this all the way out like this, right? Why is that? Because this creates a triangle. You see the abstraction of my hand, right? Like it's a giant triangle. So sometimes I'll have it like this. Sometimes I'll have it under. It depends what I'm doing and how much stability I want. But the wider you can make your base, right, the more stability you have. It's another reason why we say, have as much contact with the page as possible, right? You don't want to be drawing like this, where you see my hands all the way up on the Cintiq pen and I'm like drawing like so, right? I want the stability, right? So yeah, good question. So I'm pretty much done. I could consider myself finished at this point with this drawing. If I wanted to, I can get a little bit of, trim his face in here, right? Get his eyebrows, maybe get his hair in here. So at least we get like the direction of the head, like going in here, right? Get the ear. The ear is always a really good marker as well, right? So there it is, right? There's my like gesture drawing. So this time, let's try drawing it with more immediacy. Here, I did it with a lot of soft touch, which I still stick to saying is the best way for you guys that are starting out to learn, is get this like flow going. I had a conversation with mentees today, this morning, I taught this morning. And, the length of the line is the length of your idea, right? So keep that in mind, right? So I'm going to grab the animator's notes brush. So line, line length, right? Line length, whoops, length equals idea length. Very important. How we talked about, not doing this, right? Like scratching along, because that's like little ideas, little ideas, little ideas. I want to go long, right? And I want my idea to go long. So those two things reinforce one another, right? So when I draw the model, when I draw Trinda and I'm doing this, right? I'm like, whoa, I want to get the whole back pushing into the shoulder. You see, that's like my first idea. I'm like back into shoulder. Why? Because it's all like pushing this way, right? His whole body is directing itself that way. So I don't want to draw that by doing this and kind of scratching my way along, hoping that I'm just getting the measurement right. It's like, oh, there's the back of his head. Let me come down the body like this, right? And kind of scratch that out. Like, that's not what I'm looking for. I want to get that length of line, right? So I'll try to draw it a little more immediately this time, a little darker, right? Darker, faster. Some of that form in there, right? That we're here to talk about today. Get that angle in there. I get maybe a turning edge in there if I wanted to. I got his spine in there already, right? I'm going to straighten him out just a little bit. Get that shoulder going, right? Shoulder into back of arm. This other leg popping out of there. And if you really get that A to B mark going, right? Like I just did here in this like shin, I'm getting the angle, right? I'm getting the angle. I'm just kind of bending it a little bit to make sure it's got force in it. But if I go by length, then it actually helps me measure it better because I'm not crawling along, right? I'm just like, that's the angle, but forcefully, that's the angle, right? So it really helps me get accurate, believe it or not, right? So out of you having the courage to draw with more force and draw with more powerful lines through soft touch or the immediacy I'm doing here, either one, I'm able to get things more right? So go figure, right? Like, and you just got to go for it. Again, it's just a drawing, right? As we keep telling you guys, it's just a drawing. So imagine just drawing with your full sense of courage, right? And being okay with that all the time and then falling on your face, right? It's all good. Here's some form lines, right? Again, his spine is right there. So his spine would have been, again, amazing indicator of structure today. All those wrinkles, this leg, his shorts are helping, right? Because it's going back like this in space. And this leg is coming out, right? Like so. Right.
There is a question, Mike, about Samuel is asking how exactly you're holding your stylus.
Yeah, it's good. So let's see, what am I doing? It's really trapped triangularly across all my two fingers, right? So almost the same as when I hold the graphite. When I hold graphite on a paper, I do this because the paper is right here at my other finger, like so, right? It's like that. And then I push down with this guy, but now I'm not doing that. So I put my middle finger underneath, right? My middle finger is now moved to a position where it's under. My thumb is here and these two fingers are, it's really like this is resting on top of my middle finger, right? Like so, and these two are grasping it, right? So, and then on the page, what's happening on the paper is my middle finger is the friction, right? We talked before, well, last weekend I did this workshop, right? And I talked actually a lot about creating friction, right? So here, the friction or the pressure, the spring that I've created is my middle finger is in between the top two fingers and the screen. And that allows me to get good pressure, right? It's like I have something to push against, I can fight against. It's really hard again to do this because there's nothing for you to fight against. So you want to find a way that's comfortable for you to hold whatever you're drawing with and have something to push against, right? To have some pressure against, okay? All right, so we're out of time. I hope you guys enjoyed today's workshop. Before we leave, I want to just throw out the reminder here. If you like what we're doing, please hit the subscribe button. Tell your friends, families, neighbors, anyone that wants to learn how to draw about force or draw with force. Tell them about our channel and hit the notification bell, right? If you're as lazy as I am about trying to track all this darn stuff, then let the system do it for you. With that, I'm going to close. So thank you, Swanley and Matunjay, as always, for your great draftsmanship. And we will all see you next Friday. Take care.
See you guys.
Hi, guys.
Bye-bye.